All right, so now I just want to spend some time running through a few examples. All right, factor each trinomial. All right, let's try out x squared plus 8x plus 12. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and try to work this out on your own. And whenever you're ready, we'll do the answer. Okay, so we're looking at this. We know we need to factor out 12 and find the factors that add up to 8 if we can. Now notice 12 is positive and 8 is also positive. So both of our constants need to be positive. So 12 can be created as 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and then we could switch around, but we're not going to get any different results. So those are 3 factorizations. And as we go through them and see what they add up to, well, I think we can tell 2 plus 6 equals 8. So that is our factorization. Should have x plus 2 times x plus 6. All right. B. How about x squared plus 2x minus 8? All right, pause the video. Try it out on your own. All right. So we know we need these 2 numbers to multiply to -8, add up to 2. Well, so this is negative, so one of our numbers needs to be negative and one needs to be positive. And since the middle term has a positive coefficient, the positive will be the bigger factor. So that means, okay, we could have -1 times 8 as a factorization, or we could have -2 times 4 as a factorization. And that's about it, because then as soon as we pick another factor, well, that's going to be -4 times 2. The negative is bigger than the positive. These are our only 2 possibilities. And I think we can see that -2 plus 4 is going to equal a +2 as desired. So x minus 2, x plus 4 will be our factorization. Okay, example C. So x squared minus 4x minus 5. Go ahead and pause and work this out a little bit. All right. So write our factors out. All right. Now we need to factor a -5, and it needs to add up to a -4. Well, so that means one of them has to be negative, one of them has to be positive, and the negative one needs to be bigger to make the middle term negative. So that means we have 1 times -5 rather than -1 times 5. That's the only way to factor 5. And if we check, then 1 plus a -5 does equal -4. Or we could say that's 1 minus 5 equals -4. All right, so those will be our terms, +1, -5. All right. Let's look at another one that's a little bit trickier. Throw in another variable there. So we're going to look at x squared plus 4xy minus 21y squared. So this looks more complicated because we threw in a y there, but the trick is going to be to treat it so we want to focus on the x like we did before as being kind of the leading variable term, and then let the y treat that just like it's another number. So it'll have to go with the factors that we pull out. So what we're going to have is, all right, notice the last term is negative. So one of our factors of minus 21y squared must be negative, but then the middle term is positive, so one factor, the positive factor has to be bigger than the negative factor. Okay. And with each factor, I'm just going to put a y with the factor because y squared splits into y times y. They'll just make it a lot easier for us. So what we will do, all right, we need negative and a positive. We could have, and the positive bigger. So we could have a negative 1y times 21y. We could also have a negative 3y times a positive 7y. All right, I think we could see that, well, that one probably won't work. Try it out. Minus 1 plus 21y is going to equal positive 20y. We need a 4y, positive 4y. If we take negative 3y plus 7y, so there we would add up to positive 4y. So that means 3y, 7y, or negative 3y and 7y are our second terms. So just treat that y like a part of the constant, part of b, and you should get the same method to work out. We could go ahead and check this, though. Since this is new, just make sure that this works the same way. So we multiply x times x is x squared. X times 7y is 7xy. Minus 3y times x is minus 3xy. And minus 3y times positive 7y will give us, so minus 3 times 7, minus 21. Y times y is y squared. Now notice that these are like terms, just like if it's just an x there, no y. So we have 7xy minus 3xy combining to form 4xy. So indeed, we have done this correctly. All right. So one more example, combining all of our methods that we've done so far. Or not all of them, I suppose, but let's factor out the GCF. Then factor the remaining trinomial. All right, so let's do, this one looks good to me. 3x to the fourth minus 3x cubed minus 60x squared. All right, so start by identifying the GCF, pulling it out of each term. So it looks like a 3 is the biggest thing that could divide this coefficient. It divides that one. 3 also divides 60. So I think 3 is going to be a part of it. That looks good. And then we have a power of x in each term. The smallest power is x squared. So let's factor that out. Okay, so if I take a 3 and an x squared out of here, I'm left with just an x squared. If I take a 3 and an x squared out of this, I'm left with a negative x. If I take a 3 and an x squared out of here, I'll be left with a negative 20. Okay, and now this trinomial here is something we are able to factor with our new method. So We know it's going to be x and x. Now let's think, okay, we need factors of negative 20. And all right, they multiply to a negative and they add to a negative, so the negative factor has to be bigger. All right, so it could be minus 20 times 1, could be minus 5 times 4. Oh, I guess it could be minus 10 times 2. And if we look at that list, we want to just get a negative 1x. Your minus 5 times, or minus 5 plus positive 4 is going to give you that negative 1. Okay, so that would be, those are our terms.